So guys, this will be the first video in our Cisco ASA firewall video, and ASA stands for Adaptive Security Appliance. Now Cisco called it an adaptive security appliance as opposed to just a firewall because it does IDS, intrusion detection systems, and IPS, which is intrusion prevention systems, alongside other threat detection policies. So Cisco decided to call it a security appliance as opposed to just a firewall. And the reason why this video came up is a couple of years ago I was working as a contractor and it was heavy into firewalls. And we had a guy called Mike who was our manager actually. And there was a senior firewall engineer called Callum. And they had this discussion about which is better, CLI or ASDM for the ASA. Now Mike had been brought up with some hard-nosed security professionals and he was like CLI all the way. And initially I agreed with him. But Callum, being the senior firewall engineer, and he was a proponent of the ASDM, and he was actually flipping good. He was like, no, the old version of ASDM was rubbish, but the new one's good. And they used to have this battle. But eventually, Callum actually won, and everyone on the team started using ASDM. Now, I know there are some quirks where you have to use CLI, but for the majority of the tasks, they were using ASDM. And I was surprised, being a CLI guru myself, I was surprised at how adaptable the ASDM was for, I would say, 80 to 90% of the tasks that we've done on a daily basis. So I still use CLI myself, but I'm not adverse to someone using the ASDM. So this course is going to cover both CLI and ASDM. So let's get into the actual topology that we'll be using. And this is the topology. Now, a lot of you probably have seen the original firewall diagrams where they have like a single firewall and you have an outside, inside, and a DMZ. But this topology is actually, for want of a better word, a better topology because you have the DMZ sitting between two firewalls. Now, in a real design, these would be two different firewalls. So you'd probably have one ASA or one Juniper and then one next-gen firewall like a Fortinet or a Palo Alto. And the reason for this is if you find vulnerabilities in one of them, one vendor, you shouldn't find the same vulnerabilities in the other vendor. So you should have two separate firewalls. But I'll be using this design just to showcase one firewall as ASDM and the other one as CLI. And I've done all the routing and statics for the routers themselves, but I haven't done anything on the firewalls. So let me open up the firewalls and you can see that the ASDM has no config and our CLI firewall also has no config. And what we're going to do is basically I'm going to do, for this first section, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do all of the IP addressing, showcasing ASDM and CLI. Then I'm going to allow ping from the inside to the outside interface. And then eventually we should be able to ping and telnet from the inside to the outside interface. All right, so let's begin. And I need to just have a look at that diagram again. Yeah, all right. So this one I am currently on is the CLI. Let's do that one first. So from CLI, enable, and there's a null password, so you shouldn't have to put any password in. Conf T. And I have two interfaces to configure here, GI00 and GI01. GI00 being inside, GI01 being the DMZ. So interface GI00 is the inside interface. If I say name if inside. Now, when you say name if inside, it sets the security level as 100 by default, and only the inside interface sets the security level as 100. If you configure any other name, it will set the security level as 0. So I don't need to set any security levels here because I will leave the inside interface as 100. And our IP address is 192.168.10.1. /24. Let's now shut that interface. And then the DMZ, interface G01. Now we need to set the security level here. So our security level I will set as 50 for the DMZ. IP address of 10.1.1.1. I'm also going to set the name I'll call this router coach firewall 1. And what I need to do is, because I want to be able to reach the IP address, the loopback of the IP address of the inside router, I need to set a static route, and then I will do a default route going through the DMZ for every other network. So if I say route inside, and this is how you set static routes on a Cisco ASA, to get to the 2.2.2.32 network, I'll have to go to 192.168.10.2, and we can set the administrative distance on the end here. I'm going to set it as 10, and then a default route to get to everything else through the DMZ. Go to the 10.1.1.2 network. Let's just set this as 5. Alright, that should be it. Sorry, not a do, just say WR. Now let's see if we can do a ping from our inside router to our DMZ. So let's just open those two up. So from our inside router, can we ping the DMZ? So ping 10.1.1.2. So that ping is not working. Can we ping our firewall interface, which is 192.168.10.1? And we can. And you'll find that by default, the ASA will allow pings to an interface that is on the ASA, but it will not allow pings through the ASA. So I probably won't even be able to ping the other side interface of the ASA, which is 10.1.1.1. No. And to allow pings through the ASA, what we will have to do, we'll either have to change the service policy, the default service policy, or we will have to do an access list. So if we have a look at our service policy, show run, is it our policy map? Sorry, let me do this. Show run policy map, and it's our global policy. Which policy are we looking at for our default? Let's have a look. Sorry. Oh, we're doing it on the router. Let's go jump on our actual firewall. Show run policy map for the global policy. And here we saw all the inspection sessions, but we don't see ping. So if we were just going to change our global policy, we could either go into our policy map, go into our class inspection, then say inspect ICMP. But I do the easy way, which is just one line, which is fix up protocol ICMP. Now if we run that command again, we can see that it now says inspect ICMP at the bottom. And with this command, we should now be able to ping from our inside interface to the DMZ, because this policy allows pings to pass through the ASA. If I now say ping 10.1.1.2, you see that pings are allowed. Guys, I have a request from you. If you're enjoying the free content, I'm looking to increase my subscriber count to 4,000 subscribers by June. But I can only do that if you give me the Play Special. Do you want to know what the Play Special is? Press like and subscribe. Okay, back to the video. Okay, and that can also be achieved through access list, which will probably do that on our ASDM. Alright, so now we have pings from, let's have a look at our diagram again. Now we have pings from our inside to our DMZ. We just need to do the ASDM part, and we should be able to, by the time we finish, we should be able to get from our inside all the way to our outside interface, and also telnet from our inside to our outside interface. Alright, let's look at our ASDM and do our configuration. Now we need to do some configuration here to enable our Windows server to access the ASDM itself. First thing is we jump onto the management interface, which here is G0/0, I've put it as. Let's say name if management. You see it sets the security level as 0 again. Then I'm going to say security level of 80. I'm going to give it an IP address of 192.168.1.10. No, sorry, I think the IP address it's expecting is 192.168.1.5. say no shut here. I also need to give a username. Let me say username of admin, password of Cisco, and set the privilege level of 15, so we got full privilege, right? And the last thing I need to do, because we're going to be accessing this through ASDM, through a browser, I need to enable the HTTP server. So HTTP server enable. And which IP address is it going to be coming in from? So HTTP from the 192.168.1.0 network on a /24, and it's going to be coming through the management interface. That should be it. Let's see if we now have access to this through the ASDM. So I'm going to open up VNC. Might be a bit laggy. I'm going to open up a browser and HTTPS 192.168.1.5. Yeah, continue to this website, even though it's not recommended. And let's run ASDM. Okay, let's open that. Continue. It's looking good. I accept this risk. Alright, we used admin and Cisco as our password. Excellent. Now we have access to our ASDM. Not sure what this is. Let me just close that. Okay, remind me in a week then, please, for Smart Walk Home. No problem. Alright, so we want to configure two additional interfaces. And we're looking at GI01 for our outside interface and GI02 for our DMZ interface. And also we need to configure static routes. So let's jump on and do that. GI02 is our DMZ, GI01 is our outside. Okay, got it. So I'm going to go into configuration, interface settings, and interfaces. Now the first one was GI01, which is our outside interface. I could double click, or on the right here, I could click it, highlight it, and then press edit. Outside, the security level is going to stay the same, which is 0. If you want to no shut the interface, we say enable the interface, and then I'm going to give it an IP address, and the IP address is 209.10.12.1 on a /24. We could also give it a description, but I won't do that for this occasion. Okay, that's the first one. Yep, we want to proceed. And also, let me show you the other way, GI02, so I highlight it, go over here, click edit, takes us to the same screen, DMZ, that security level will be 50, enable this interface, and that IP address is 10.1.2.1 on a /24. Okay, yeah. Alright, let's press apply. And it shows you exactly what commands will be sent to the device. So we've got interface gigabit 0/2, it's no shutdown, it's called the DMZ, has a security level of 50 and an IP address of 10.1.2.1, and you see the same commands there for the outside, which looks good to me. Send. And I'm also going to save this config. Now from this configuration, our DMZ and our outside interface should be able to ping ASA interfaces directly, but we won't have reachability between the two of them because we need to do our policy map or access list. And I'll probably leave the access list to the next video. I'll do the policy map configuration here, but let me just prove that first. So if I jump on our DMZ router and I try to ping the outside interface, so ping 209.10.12.2, we can see that that's not reachable. But if I was to ping the directly connected interface of the ASA 10.1 10.2.2, it is pingable. So I need to do the fix up protocol ICMP, but on the ASDM. So let's jump back onto our ASDM. And if I can remember how to do this now. So the first thing I want to do, I want to go back into our configuration. I think it's under our firewall settings. If it says service policy here, I'm on the right path. Oh yeah. So then we're going to our service policy rules. Yeah, this is the one we want. Inspection default. Let's double click that. And we go into our rule actions here and ICMP. Let's enable this. Okay, looking good, looking good. Let's apply that. And there you see that it's actually modifying our global policy, which is exactly what I'm looking for. Let's send that configuration to the ASA and let's save that. Yeah. Now what we should be able to do, I should actually from this be able to ping all the way from our inside interface to our outside interface. And if I've enabled telnet on the outside router, I should also be able to telnet into it. So let's do first things first. Let's see if we can ping. So I will jump onto our inside router and see enable. Ping 209.10.12.2, which we aren't able to ping. So I have to do some troubleshooting there to see why that is. All right, so can I ping the DMZ? 10.1.2.2, yes. Can I ping the ASA? Cannot ping the ASDM ASA interface. So from here, I can ping this, but I cannot ping this 10.1.2.1. So let's see if I've even configured that on the ASDM. Go back to here, I think it's device setup. 10.1.2.1 is configured and it's enabled. So why can I not ping it? Oh, because I haven't set up the static routes maybe. So let me jump on to try and look at the static routes. Let me go here, routing, static routes. Yeah, I haven't set up the static route, so that would have never worked. I'm just looking at IP version 4 only. Let's add. So our first one is from our DMZ, and I want to be able to get to the other side of the DMZ, so to the 10.1.1.0 network. So through our DMZ, to get to the 10.1.1.0 network, which is on the /24, our gateway IP address will be 10.1.2.2. I leave the metric as 1 this time. Let me say OK to this. Alright, and let me add another one. I also want to be able to get to the loopback of the inside interface. So to get to 2.2.2.32, let's just say /32. It's going to be the same gateway IP address. 10.1.2.2. Okay. Let's apply that. Yeah, looks good. Send, save. Alright, let's try that ping again. I'm jumping onto our inside interface now. Well, that didn't look too good. Let me ping all the way through to... why is that? I can ping the DMZ. Is the DMZ able to ping? Okay. So let me see if I can ping 209.10.12.2 from the DMZ. I am able to ping it from the DMZ. Alright, I'm going to just have a look at this and see what's going on. I've got a static route to get to 10.1.1.0. And sorry, I do just troubleshooting on the CLI. So ping 10.1.1.1. Ping 192.168.10.2. No route to the host. So I can't get to the 192.168.10 network. So that is why I needed to put a static route on the ASDM to get to there, and I don't have that. Okay, so let me add one more static route from the DMZ. If I want to get to the 192.168.10.0 network, my gateway IP address is 10.1.2.2. Add that static route in, apply that, send it to the CLI, show route. Still don't see that static route there. Oh yes, I do. Here it is. Alright, so I should be able to try that ping from the inside network now. Yes, and I have reachability. Let's see if I could actually telnet to that as well. Telnet 209.10.12.2. Yeah, and telnet is working. Alright, that's it for the first video. So we've managed to do our fix-up protocol, change the policy map, change the interfaces, add static routes, and get reachability from our inside network and telnet from the inside network using both CLI and ASDM. I will see you guys in the next video.